The next thing we're going to look at on our pivot table are the report filters. On the number of properties pivot table, our report filters sit above the main pivot table in the first 3 rows. Report filters are useful in that they provide filtering capabilities without showing every possible value directly on the table. Our filters in this example are the city, state, and zip code. At this point, the filters are set to all, so they'll just display everything. Let's look at the state filter first. Suppose that our client only wanted to see the homes in North Carolina. We could use a drop-down on the state filter to select NC. And we'll scroll down here till we find NC. We find NC, we click it, click OK. Now you'll notice that a lot of the counts went down just a little bit. Instead of having 85 properties with 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, we now only have 77. Now let's say that we only want to see properties in Charlotte. Let's go to the city report filter, click the drop down, and we will go down and select Charlotte. Click OK, and now it went down even more. Now we only have 49 properties with 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms that we can look at. Suppose, however, that we might want our filter to show more than one value. That's easy enough to do. Let's say there's a client that's looking for properties in Rock Hill or Fort Mill. Well, the first thing we're going to do is reset our report filter. So we'll go to the state drop down and we'll select all. And we'll do the same with city. We'll select all, click OK. And now we want to select those cities, Rock Hill and Fort Mill. So we'll go to our city tab and click the drop down. And now you see we can only do one value at a time. Well, if we click this checkbox down here that says multiple items, click that. Now every single city in our list has a checkbox. We can turn them all off at once by selecting this all. And now we'll scroll down and look for our 2 cities that we want to add. So yeah, past Fort Mill. Fort Mill. And come down to Rock Hill. There's Rock Hill. And click OK. Now our data really got small. We've only got 3 properties that have 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms in both Fort Mill and Rock Hill. Let's click that data point and just see a little bit more about those. Now it's taking those 3 properties and you'll see we've got 1 property in Rock Hill and 2 in Fort Mill. And over here I can get a look at their prices real quick. The one in Rock Hill is a little bit more expensive. So that's an overview of the report filters and how they can add a little bit more filtering capability to a standard pivot table. The only drawback I see sometimes is that in our example, if we're just looking at this for the first time, we can't tell just from looking at the tab what cities we've selected. We have to actually go in, click the drop down to see that. But that may or may not be a big deal. If you're just using this as a tool to filter to get quick reports, then it won't really matter that much. Let's go ahead and take that check off, click OK, and we'll reset it back to all. And that does it for our lesson on report filters. In our next example, we're going to see how to satisfy Jamie's other requests, the ability to see the average, minimum, and maximum prices for each property of her groupings. Let's go over to the Property Pricings tab and look at our pivot table we've created for that. This table looks a little different than our first. For starters, we've left off the page fields. There's nothing at the top, or the report filters. They're easy enough to add at any point, as you'll see shortly. The other difference is at the row headings. If you look down column A, we still have our bedrooms heading, but then it seems like we have our number of bedrooms is 2, and then we have a couple spaces between this one and the next one. Number of bedrooms is 3. There seem to be several rows for each unique number of bedrooms. Well, that's because if you look in column B, we've basically got subcategories. For each value of bedrooms, we're going to show the minimum price, the average price, and the maximum price. So in 2 bedrooms we show the min, average, and max. 3 bedrooms, min, average, and max. 4 bedrooms, min, average, and max. And 5 bedrooms, min, average, and max. For the column headings for bathrooms, those are pretty much the same as they were in the other pivot tables. You just have simple bathrooms headings, and the number of bathrooms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we wanted to look at the price points for all the properties that have 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, now instead of looking at one exact data value, we're going to look at 3. We're going to look at these 3 underneath 2 bathrooms. We're going to look at these 3 here because they line up with number of bedrooms equal 3, and they line up underneath the number of bathrooms equals 2 columns. And you'll see here the minimum price for that particular combination of bedrooms and bathrooms, $112,000. Average price is $140,000, and the max price in that range is $160,000. So that's another useful tool. Well, now we've pretty much met all of Jamie's requirements for her pivot tables. We saw how to create some basic ones that just show counts of the number of properties at each combination of bedrooms and bathrooms. We saw how to add the filtering to the pivot tables with the report filters. And finally, we've seen how to add subcategories to show like the minimum, maximum, and average price for her number of properties. In the next section, we're going to start learning how to build these very same pivot tables we've just been talking about.